that he escaped to India and married Mary Magdalene or whatever, and then he had children. And these Phoenix journals pretty much state the same thing, that he escaped. Well, they say he was never killed, that he was later brought out of his tomb, and where he was healed and restored his strength, and then he left Jerusalem and went on to India. The Masonic teachings go as far as to say that he was never even put on the cross, that they hung the wrong person up, and he escaped to India. Both of them being that he went to India and married and had children, and, you know, they start this whole thing on. And the Phoenix Journals goes on and on about how there are 3 races here on the earth, the Orient being one of them, and a tribe from the extreme north of Israel would have to be, what, Russian or something, probably the Russians, the north of Israel. And then just the Jews, the race that doesn't exist. That was the one that was never a race to begin with, or a nation. But I found it interesting that the 2 of the biggest things that they push is the fact that Jesus spent a dominant amount of his time in India, and that there's 3 races on earth, when we know that there's many of them. The Lord's chosen people, well, one race, it was the Israelites, not necessarily being just the Jewish race that we have today, and that's where a lot of people get hung up. Because Jews is a modern day term. It's something that's like a generic word for one tribe, one group of people. These Khazar Jews who call themselves Jews and aren't Jews that rule Israel today, what we call Zionism. Their Zionism is the same thing as our New World Order. They just call it Zionism. Both nations working to bring in a one-world government ruled by Lucifer in the last days. Israel working towards this, America working towards this, forcing other countries around the globe into this, and countries who don't go along with it are overtaken and conquered and installed with leaders that can be controlled by America and Israel, so that they will follow along with the New World Order and accept a one-world government. More information on, I got about 5 minutes left, and next week, folks, what I'll do listener call-ins next week for the entire time, since I haven't done them for 2 weeks now. But next week what I'm going to do is go into more of these journals, this information that they've got tucked away in their journals, basically, so you don't have to, unless you want to go verify everything I'm saying that's in them. But this is the garbage that's coming out. This is going to be a part of the apostacies. We're already seeing it now in a lot of their teachings, and it's going to come out even more and more. Anything the New Age has done has made its way into our churches, has made its way into a lot of the religions, and so this is going to be dominant in the last days. They're painting their whole scenario of their whole coming kingdom on earth, their whole coming dimension change of shifting from linear time that we operate in to an eternal state of existence, which is the 5th dimension. And what they will need to do that basically is bodies, because they need bodies to operate in. I don't know where that one quote is I had. But it was talking about how Commander Haytan, they call him Commander at times instead of just God of Nebuchadnezzar. They call him Commander Haytan, says that 2/3 of the earth has already been cloned. And what I interpret this as is probably 2/3 of the earth can be easily overtaken by alien possession right now, soul scalped. Because all they have to do is get people into believing these false doctrines that they're teaching and preaching, and once they accept them, and they've denied the truth, or they once even professed the name of the Lord, and then backslid away from the Lord and started embracing these false teachings, if they start accepting these teachings, or even go the extra mile of starting to turn their own DNA from a carbon-based, lead-based DNA to this crystalline DNA, or even turning on the extra codons in their DNA, tweaking their DNA, what they're doing is making themselves access as host bodies for aliens and demonic possession. That's what it's all about, folks. And so that's, if he's got about 2/3 of the earth now that he could walk in, these aliens could walk in and possess, I wouldn't doubt it. That's what they claim. That's what they claim, that 2/3 is already cloned. And what I think is what they mean. There's no way that 2/3 of the earth is cloned literally in the way we think of being cloned. But probably, could probably be easily targeted and accessed for possession. And the Lord said that the righteous will become more righteous and the wicked become more wickeder. And that's why, because even Christians who backslide, who constantly live in sin, can become targets for this possession. And you don't think it's happening, you don't think it's possible? How many Christian forums today can you stand on being on for 5 minutes? Because most of them are so demonized, and they're so filled of hate, and so filled of anger, and all they do is spend their time attacking the brethren. Those aren't the Lord's people. The Lord does not allow His people to sit and attack His brethren up one side, down another, when there's so many other things we need to be doing. He says not to pray for the judgment to be withheld from this country because He's already condemned it for judgment, but to pray for the souls of those perishing in it, to preach repentance and redemption, because so many people here are going to be perishing. We can't save our country anymore. It's already been marked for judgment. What we can do is save the people in it, is to fight for their souls. Preach the word, preach repentance, preach salvation. There's nothing more we can do. Prepare for what's coming, prepare for what's ahead, start stocking, start preparing so that when these disasters start coming, when martial law is declared and these police states start forming everywhere, I've been telling you forever, just go hide somewhere. You got to get out of the cities. Start preparing now to get out of the cities, but just go hide somewhere. And so a lot of things happening, a lot of things coming down. These apostasies and heresies that are coming are just a tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg. You haven't even begun to see it yet. Like I've said, there's so much coming from every direction. All I can try to do is forewarn and prepare for all the different types of directions that they're coming from. And this, of course, being one of them. But that's one of the warnings I want to give before I end the show tonight, is that Christians who claim they can't be deceived, that they won't be deceived, are the very ones that can be, and the very ones that are being. Because if He's allowing you to sit in errors now, you're going to be adopting them later. And the only way you can get into the truth and know that you're in errors is to start praying for the truth to be revealed to you in all things daily. Start asking Him for the truth now, so that when it comes, you can recognize it for being in error, for the errors it is. That wraps up the show this week, folks. Be back next week at 8 o'clock Monday night Eastern, and I'll be taking listener call-in then next week. In the meantime, have a good week, everybody. God bless.